It started from an email that I received from Adam, and he was asking if I was interested in painting his wall. It was around the time that a lot of this COVID outbreak was happening and things started to fall apart, and Adam was one of the first people I called. I'm like, I'd love to come paint your wall. It's an amazing location. It's a beautiful building. It was nice to see this finally happen. The building presented a bit of a challenge in the way that it's full of windows, but I kind of like that it shows the architecture and the nature of the building. What was quite difficult was to find an image that worked in between all the windows, and I think I did about 20 to 30 different mock-ups where the mouth ended up landing in the doorway, or an eye just was getting cut off, or the composition wasn't large enough to really make use of the wall. Once I got my image, it's a case of trying to work out the color palette, and for this wall, knowing that it's a heritage building, I wanted to make it feel like it's always been there. I went to the hardware and got 5 or 6 different tints of paint that I thought was fairly close to it, and tried to match the exact color of the wall. Once I had the color, I kind of based all my tones, just tints lighter and darker of the same hue, and that kind of lets me paint in a way it's almost like it's sculpting out of the building. Once I've got my colors, one of my issues is that the color I paint on the wall dries darker. My shades are so similar that if I pick up a color that looks like the tone I want to paint, it's actually a tone off. So what I'll actually do is I'll label my colors into like blue, green, red, and then I'll do a method of gradient mapping. So I can see those subtle tones as very exaggerated colors. That's given me the ability to get really, really subtle changes of color in a very short spectrum. My background was from stencil art, where you just get the image, you cut it out and you spray it straight on the wall, but I was limited with scale. So I developed a method which I call the overlay method, where I just put random marks, or even using existing architecture of the wall, like the windows and the doors, and overlay the image that I want to paint onto it, and all those markings become the reference points. I'm now quite confident in doing that it gives me the ability to kind of get a perfect scale representation of the image I want, and I can just concentrate on getting the perfect rendering. The way I paint is almost, I think in a traditional sense, they might call glazing, where I build up layers and layers of almost transparent layers of paint, and I do this by using water. Sometimes I'll spray that on the wall, and it lets the paint actually drip and run or fade away. It lets me put in more and more subtle layers, but at the same time it causes all the paint to run and drip down the wall. At first this was, I guess, a mistake that in turn turned into a part of my style of painting. A lot of my friends and peers were using spray paint. They could get these beautiful fades, and I was just terrible at using spray paint, so I tried to do the same thing with a roller, and the only way I could do it was with water. And I kind of found this happy medium in the middle. It's like it became something unique in its own. I often start with big shaded areas, like I'll block in the colors that I know are more of the base, and it's almost like underpainting. You kind of rough it out first, and then you get smaller and smaller rollers, and eventually kind of get to the fine detail stuff of just using brushes. to get in the really finer points. The last parts of my work now, I finish on a roller to just get like big large washes to kind of build up a little bit more texture. Knowing when it's done has always been one of those questions it's very difficult. But for me, my rule of thumb is it's finished when I can't see anything wrong with it. And sometimes it looks unfinished, but it still kind of looks perfect on that balancing point of it's all there, but it's just about to fall apart, and like that perfect kind of harmony of beauty and decay.